This is one of my favorite spots. You just kind of want to know what's going on. You just kind of sit right here. This is a really busy street. Tell the whole story. Okay, so this stoop is very sacred to this space. This is the stoop where Pastor Alika sat when her and Pastor Ralph first moved back to Minnesota. She used to just sit on the stairs. This is a very busy street, and she'll just find people come and just sit on the stoop with her and begin to tell their story. And from her just simply being here, being a listening ear, she found out the firsthand stories of people, and it was more than women, men and women who were involved in the sex trade and trafficking, exchanging sex for basic needs, paying rent, things of that nature. And so sometimes they will come and sit here just to take a breather and ask her, do you have something? I'm menstruating right now. Do you have a rag? Do you have some soap? Do you have some water? I just really need to take a break from what I'm doing right now. And so from that, Pastor Alika really got to know the stories of local, just the Northsiders over here in Minneapolis, and what did that mean? And it's a real hot spot in Minneapolis because we have a lot of Fortune 500 companies, and the Highway 94 that gets you out of Minnesota is literally not even a mile away. So this was a real hot spot, and we're like probably 5 minutes away from downtown. In those stories, Pastor Alika found that the median age that people got involved in sex trading and trafficking was 11 years old.
I listened to those stories. Everything we do at Liberty, 21st Century, Northside Healing Space, we co-create, and we co-create home places out of Bell Hooks Works. Little places where African Americans can come get healed. And it's not just considered women's work, it's considered community work. So I formed a partnership with the University of Minnesota with a person named Dr. Lauren Martin, who was doing research in sex trading and basically survival sex, growing out of poverty. This is not the commercial sex trade that you think about with the No, these are the women that are on the very bottom list. And so we began to ask questions. And I said, what do you need? What do you need to be made whole? Same questions Jesus said. What do you need to be made whole? And they needed a place to rest. They were tired. Most women that are practicing survival sex are working 2 or 3 jobs and then doing the survival sex trade on the side as hustle. So they needed a place to rest. They needed a place to remember who they are. Because when you're trading your body, you have to bifurcate. You have to leave. You have to leave your body. Because you don't do that. You can't do that. And then the victimization of that is so demeaning. So they needed to remember that they were human. So they needed a place to remember. And then they needed a place to revive. They also just needed a place to rest, like washing their face, clothing. What is the name you wish to be called? I want to be called, my grandma used to call me Bunny. I want to be called Bunny. That's what we're going to call you.
Even before the Matthew 25 initiative of the Greater Church, I was attracted to the church in a way, this particular church, in a way that I didn't know initially. When I was in juvenile prosecution, I did a lot of work with girls who had been sex trafficked, and at risk of being sex trafficked. And I worked on a number of boards that was doing work in that area. So I would see Pastor Alika around town speaking about sex trafficking. I was just really impressed with the work that the church was trying to do with trafficked women and girls, which I found unique for a religious organization to be doing. It was not clouded in shame. It was based in some of the realities of poverty, that there are so many women who barter their bodies for rent, for food for their children, for clothes. And in many ways, it's a sad and unfortunate reality of poor women's lives.
No judgment. The sin is not that you are selling your body. The sin is that we live in a culture where you have to. That's who's erring. It's not you. So then we need a place to resist objectification. And that's through welcoming. That's through a presence. That's through, I see God in you. You are a treasure. It's affirmations. So we're doing trauma groups, healing groups. We have therapists really working on healing all those multiple layers of loss. So then one day they said, Pastor Lika, we need to expand. And I said, well, what do you think we need to do? And they said, this makes no sense for us to get healed. And then we turn around and go back into an unhealed community. In one of the confessions, it says, we will listen to the voices of those long silenced. Those are the voices of long silence. I said, what do you think we need to do? We need to broaden. We need to invite the rest of the community come in. I said, okay, we can do that. I said, well, how do you think? Well, first of all, we need to stop with women's space. We need another name, because many of the persons that came identified themselves as they, them. Their pronouns are different. Many of them were trans. We need to stop saying women, because men are the victims too. So that's how we made the change from Northside Women's Space to Northside Healing Space. So when we talk about we are a community-driven solution, we're very serious about that. Listening within our cultural context, we contextualize theology. We are public theologians. We are organic theologians.
So we're at Northside Healing Space, and this is the Healing River. Our young people painted this by hand. They painted this in the hard place in 2020 where it was just a lot going on in the nation, in the country, especially here in Minneapolis. And so one of their healing processes was to paint. And so they painted the Healing River. And it follows all the way up to the door. We also use this as our meditation room, and just a place for people to come and be mindful, center themselves, calm themselves down, get in touch with spirit, get in touch with their bodies. And so one of the activities that we do in this space is we walk the labyrinth. And so you just walk the labyrinth, and then you land on whatever symbol you feel is calling you that day and in that moment. And then the cool thing is you come to the wall, and then you see which one you landed on, and just sit and reflect on what I landed on and what do I feel God is calling me to reflect on for that moment in that day. And this is another healing space, where we eat food. So this is also a multi-purpose space. Sometimes young people come down here in the summer, they'll do art projects. If the community has an event, they may use this space and use the kitchen.
You know, as I got into weaving, it's the creation of sort of a sacred space for me that I think, and sacred space can be created, you know, when we're working with our hands. Domestic or hand work has been deprioritized in our culture, but really there is a lot of healing that can take place in the work of the hands. Jesus put his hands on people. You know, he touched dirty folks, he touched the lepers and healed them. So healing can take place not just through words of comfort, but in actually getting down into the mud and touching individuals.
Pastor Lika and I were pulling up, and there was this woman outside. Again, remember, this is holy ground, but you know, it is contentious space as well. And so we were coming in, and we seen a woman. She's probably about 8 or 9 months pregnant, smoking a cigarette. And Pastor Lika said, "Oh, no." So I said, "Pastor Lika, you know, I'm forgetting this is the woman that sat on the stoops talking to people, just talking and being open and listening to folks. So I'm forgetting who I'm dealing with." She get out the car, she tell me, "Just go in the building, it's okay." because she had a private conversation with that woman. Pastor Lika seen a woman that was hurting and a baby in danger, and literally stopped and had that conversation. That is what Womanists do. They hold the boundary while also maybe crossing one too, if you will. When I peeked out the window, she was praying for her. She had one of her hands lifted and the other hand on the lady's shoulder, praying for her. Yeah. That's how she, and also in my training, that's kind of how you ground the chaos, is you always invite God into the space, no matter what's going on. That's how you ground it.